Seems hard to believe that judges want to try and stop us from looking for corruption, especially when we found hundreds of millions of dollars worth, much more than that, in just a short period of time. And we want to weed out the corruption. And it seems hard to believe that a judge could say, we don't want you to do that. Well, so maybe we have to look at the judges, because that's a very serious, I think it's a very serious violation. I'll ask Elon Musk to say a few words, and we'll take some questions. Elon, go ahead.
Sure. So at a high level, if you say what is the goal of Doge, and I think a significant part of the presidency is to restore democracy. This may seem like, well, are we in a democracy? Well, if you don't have a feedback loop, FAX, we would have to, if you sorry. So, I tell you, gravitas can be difficult sometimes. If there's not a good feedback loop from the people to the government, and if you have rule of the bureaucrat, if the bureaucracy is in charge, and then what meaning does democracy actually have? If the people cannot vote and have their will be decided by their elected representatives in the form of the president and the Senate and the House, then we don't live in a democracy, we live in a bureaucracy. So it's incredibly important that we close that feedback loop, we fix that feedback loop, and that the public's elected representatives, the president, the House, and the Senate, decide what happens, as opposed to a large unelected bureaucracy. This is not to say that there are good people who are in the federal bureaucracy, but you can't have an autonomous federal bureaucracy. You have to have one that is responsive to the people. That's the whole point of a democracy. And if you looked at this, if you asked the founders today and said, what do you think of the way things have turned out? Well, we have this unelected, fourth unconstitutional branch of government, which is the bureaucracy, which has, in a lot of ways, currently more power than any elected representative. And this is not something that people want, and it does not match the will of the people. So it's just something we've got to fix. And then we've also got to address the deficit. So we've got a $2 trillion deficit, and if we don't do something about this deficit, the country's going bankrupt. I mean, it's really astounding that the interest payments alone on the national debt exceed the Defense Department budget, which is shocking, because we spend a lot of money on defense. But if that just keeps going, we're essentially going to bankrupt the country. So what I really want to say is, like, it's not optional for us to reduce the federal expenses. It's essential. It's essential for America to remain solvent as a country.
We're going to interrupt this pablum to fact check it a little bit. One, irony died while he was talking. The only unelected party in any of this is Elon Musk. Andrew Nassios, who was the administrator of USAID, a lifelong Republican and self-described hardline conservative, said it took 1 month to turn the mission of USAID in the direction of a hard-right conservative agenda from the Clinton years. So the idea that the bureaucracy, as Elon Musk is describing, isn't responsive to the policymaker is destroyed by the fact pattern as testified to by Democratic and Republican cabinet officials. But there you have it. The co-president speaking much longer and in far greater detail than the president, drawing into serious question, who's in charge?
Well, let's say it ain't we the people, because I think what they've just forgotten, that long litany of misinformation and disinformation, which is just my real nice way of saying lies. There was a whole bunch of lying in there, starting with Donald Trump acting like a judge in the Doge case was not protecting the rights of ordinary people, which is what that case was about, right? It was actually about our rights. Every last one of us that has Social Security numbers in that data, when Elon Musk had his employees go in and seize data, that's our data. So this whole thing and this question about elections, you already pointed out the big irony, but the other point of this is it's actually the courts are actually created through the Constitution. So it is a and a state in the separation of powers, and it is there to protect us against the kind of overreach and lawlessness we have been watching unfold for the past 3 weeks. And for Elon Musk to call for the impeachment, which he has, of this judge who was following the law, is really to say, unless you do our bidding, we will suggest we should come for your job, even though you are supposed to be independent from us, and that is the balance of power. And I just have to, well, there's one other point, which is so critical, is for them to actually be saying this now, when guess what the will of the people wasn't? The will of the people was not the Supreme Court's overturning Roe v. Wade and saying we couldn't have rights to decide when and how we start a family. That was not the will of the people, but yet I didn't see or hear any of this about the judiciary when we got that ruling from the Supreme Court.
Let me just ask, is he still talking?
Then when you understand that, then it makes sense.
Is Donald Trump, he's still talking, I'm told. Is Donald Trump still just listening to Elon Musk talk? Donald Trump is still, right now, listening to Elon Musk talk. So, Glenn Thrush, as a longtime watcher of Donald Trump and of politics in general, have you ever seen Donald Trump watch someone talk instead of him at an event for this long?
The look you're seeing right there is the Trump looking at the kid mowing the lawn look, Nicole. Look, right there.
Yeah.
I mean, here's what people don't really get is like the one group of people that Trump has typically over the course of his career been fairly deferential to are bankers. He has an enormous amount of respect for people who have accumulated a lot of money. He understands money power. And so the one person that he is less likely to sort of challenge, and this is why when people are like, when is he going to get tired of him? I think it's going to be a lot longer than people expect because Trump knows how much money that this man has. The other thing that's just kind of remarkable about this, apart from this being sort of like this 45-second civics lesson, is we do have a feedback loop. It's called Article 1 of the Constitution, and it created the Congress. Congress has the power of the purse, raises taxes, makes fiscal decisions, creates budget bills. We're seeing that awful, terrible process playing out right now in the House, and it will ultimately get resolved. And various players have leverage. That is the way this democracy is put together. Now, the alternate model here, and I think what people are failing to sort of understand necessarily, this is not about efficiency and corruption. He does Doge. And Musk's folks are coders. This isn't the General Accounting Office. They're not doing a rational assessment of where the money ought to be spent. And as we know, budgets are moral documents.
All right, you've been watching President Trump and First Buddy Elon Musk at the Resolute desk in the Oval Office defending their aggressive efforts to overhaul the government and root out fraud. Musk, who is, of course, the world's richest person, was not elected, defended his departments, the Department of Government Excellence, unfettered access into multiple federal agencies. Trump, the president, also continuing with his suggestion that judges, the judicial branch of government, should not be standing in the way of his administration's moves. Let's bring back CNN's Jeff Zeleny at the White House. And Jeff, it's snowed since I last saw you there, Jeff. This was a rather extraordinary moment, a long conversation at the Oval Office, the president and Elon Musk answering questions from reporters. You know, applause for taking all those questions, even if you don't like what they're doing. What did we learn about their working dynamics there, do you think?
Jake, it was extraordinary. As you said, the world's richest and unelected man essentially functioning as the fourth branch of government right there as the president looked on from the Resolute desk. There are very few speakers who can command so much attention and time as the president patiently waits.
Republican chairman of Senate committees that have a right to see what they're talking about. So I hear all of these very stark, disturbing details. Let's see the evidence for it. Jeff Zeleny, thanks so much. Let's bring in CNN's Daniel Dale for a fact check. Daniel, two guys there that are not necessarily strict adherers to truth. What stood out to you in the remarks from both President Trump and Elon Musk?
3 quick points, Jake. Number one, I'm with you. We heard a lot of big, startling claims about kickbacks, massive corruption. I'm not saying none of this happened, but we have not seen the evidence for it. What we have largely seen evidence for is that there are certain contracts and certain spending at the federal government that Mr. Trump and Mr. Musk don't like. That is what has largely been canceled so far. That is what largely we're seeing from Doge. So in terms of these claims about criminality, essentially, I think we need to wait and see. Number two, on the question of transparency, I think you made some good points. Mr. Musk is certainly tweeting a lot about their activities, or posting on X, as he would say. But also, in other respects, he has not been transparent. For example, there was an X user who posted the names of some of the people working with this Doge team. He responded that you have committed a crime. So merely disclosing who is working with him, he's alleging wrongly, is a crime. And then number three, I thought there was a remarkable moment when a journalist there raised this point about the so-called 50 million in condoms to Gaza. He said, Musk said, look, some of what I say is wrong. Yes, all of us get some things wrong sometimes, but this has been not only repeated by the president, but turned into 100 million in condoms for Hamas, so turned into an even more incendiary claim. Mr. Musk has not corrected it, as far as I can tell, until today.
Folks, what you see there, like the media and stuff, they're leaving Trump events early, they're cutting out on him. It's pretty embarrassing to see, but you're also seeing it. You know, remember, Trump's audience, he likes to brag about crowds. But this is a man who, before he was in politics, was in TV. And this man cared about two numbers above all. One, his net worth, and he would often exaggerate it. At least that's what a lot of lawsuits have said. But two, he bragged about ratings. He cared about those rating numbers. And what we've seen so far in his presidency is the ratings have been bad. It doesn't matter. In Trump's mind, it doesn't matter if the ratings are coming from hate watchers or from fans or from just people that are sort of in the middle. He just wants the highest ratings possible. And from the very start of this presidency, people have been walking out early on him, tuning out early. His inauguration got lower viewer ratings than Biden's. But look, say what you will about Joe Biden. He wasn't the most exciting president. It wasn't a historic presidency, right? It wasn't like when Obama got elected. And that was a historic presidency and a much more charismatic person. So regular old Joe Biden crushed Trump's second inauguration ratings. And the ratings have been bad ever since. Because all it is Trump and his, as noted there, first buddy Elon making everyone else look like geniuses compared to these dum-dums.